My friends, welcome today for the cataclysmic transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. Entire civilizations are going to disappear in this video, unable to sustain the weight of a changing world. I'm the Archivist. Thank you for joining me today. Let's dive into it without further ado. It is the year 1210 before Christ. The Hittite king Suppiluliuma II scores a naval victory on the Sea Peoples, ferocious Mediterranean pirates of Alasia, that is to say, Cyprus. Despite this success, the Hatti is suffering, and Suppiluliuma II has to ask Egypt for grain to nourish his people. For in this ancient time, in addition to barbarian attacks, the people of Anatolia has to compose with a harsh climate and therefore bad harvests. Maybe this explains as well why so many plunderers join the pirates that continue launching new raids against the western and southern shores of Asia Minor. And the Hittites are not the only ones to suffer. Pharaoh Meremta of the 19th dynasty of Egypt, maybe upon returning from taming a revolt of the Pirus, Israelites of the time in Canaan, must repulse in several months of fighting the attacks of a coalition composed of Libyans and Sea Peoples, of course. 10,000 strong, led by the Libyan Mariae, it threatened Memphis and Yunu or Heliopolis amongst others. Victories achieved at the costly Battle of Perire in the delta of the Nile. Mariae is captured, 8,000 killed in his army, including 6,000 Libyans. This respite gained, Meremta goes on a campaign in Kush or Nubia the following year to tame an ongoing revolt. This pharaoh will pass away in 1202. 1203, just before it, the Kassite king of Babylon, Adad-Shuma-Usur, frees his land from the Assyrian domination, turning the table and gaining the upper hand against his northern neighbor. And oh my, we have lots on our plate in 1202 BC. It is the time of the settling of the Dorians in Greece to the detriment of the Achaeans. They take Crete, Sicily, southern Italy, and parts of Asia Minor for themselves too. They probably are the doom of the Mycenaean civilization, peoples of the sea and inner disorders taking their toll too. Mycenae city itself in northeastern Peloponnese is destroyed. Its famous Lion's Gate and 900 meters long Cyclopean wall could not save it. In the campaigns, Mycenaean armies with war chariots were beaten too, and other important cities like Pylos, Tiryns, protected by a ditch and 8 meters thick walls, are sacked as well. Fortunately, the Dorians are not destructors only, for they found Sparta, Lacedaemonia back then, and Corinth, on the site where an ancient settlement could have suffered destructions around 2000 BC. One notable, Athens, just here in the Attic region, still a monarchy back then, will always resist the Dorian assaults thanks to its strong Acropolis. Because of this, the Athenians will always proudly claim their Ionian heritage against other Dorian Greeks. Rivalries will remain numerous between Greek villages, cities, and islands over the course of centuries, the upcoming ones, following the end of the Mycenaean civilization, being called the Dark Ages because of a diminishing overall population and of the temporary loss of writing in the region. For a final word on the Mycenaeans, whose writing was never deciphered, they got to such extremes while fighting the Dorian victors that they reused the bronze of their temples, like in Pylos, for example, to make more arrow and pike tips. Alright, we can now say farewell to Mycenaeans on this beautiful warrior's crater of theirs. We are now at 1200 BC. Change is not for some peoples of the world only. In India, the Aryans, unrivaled charioteers, forced their way into Punjab and in the center of this subcontinent. The local Dravidians only survive in the south, protected by the mountains of Vindhya. Even in lands that did not have any writing, we still find traces of important battles. In the now German valley of the Tolense, archaeologists found numerous skeletons showing signs of violent deaths, dating the event, a battle in which hundreds could have died and thousands fought around here. Of course, the details will forever elude us. Another big change, there's no stopping it. Between here and the start of the first millennium BC, in the future Italy, where the rudimentary Apenninic civilization, bronze user, sees pastoral nomads regularly attacking dwellers of the plains, iron will make its progressive entry. Foreigners infiltrate the peninsula from the north by land and the south by sea. Fleeing Mycenaeans, daring Dorians, or even interested Phoenicians, Phoenicians being a mix of Semites, Hurrians, Canaanites, Philistines, and more. It is part of these foreigners that introduce iron in Italy. But where did it come from exactly? We'll see that in a minute. While this time, the Phrygians, people come from Central Europe, forge a kingdom of theirs in central Anatolia, on the accumulating ruins of the Hittites. What's that about? We'll see that in 30 seconds. Patience, it will all come together. The capital of Phrygia is Gordion, west of ancient Hattusa, and Phrygia is only one of several small kingdoms sprouting on formerly Hittite lands. The Phrygians will fail in the upcoming years at submitting the mountain peoples of Pisidia southward, where strong places like Sagalassos, on its 1500 meters high plateau, can resist almost any attack. And let us now unravel the mystery. 1190 BC, total collapse of the Hittite Empire under its ruler Suppiluliuma II. It falls to assaults from the Gazgas, Shekelesh Sea peoples, whom will give its name to Sicily, and a few others. These destructive plunderers also spell the doom of Amurian cities of Carchemish, Ugarit, Alala, Arwad, Kadesh, Byblos, Damascus, Sidon, and Tyre, all of them devastated. In Ugarit, ships and troops had been requisitioned by Emperor Suppiluliuma II to combat the Lucas pirates, part of the peoples of the sea, leaving the city vulnerable. Even so, King Amurapi of Ugarit tried to help its neighbor, the Alashian kingdom, who had been stripped of his warriors too after the imperial call, in vain of course. Correspondence of the time lament of a raid of 7 pirate ships, indicating that the fall of all these lands was not the result of one massive invasion, but rather of repeated raids. On screen right now are the ruins of Ras ibn Hani near Ugarit. The Lucas pirates we mentioned were probably the grave diggers of southwestern Anatolian kingdom Arzawatu, vanishing in the coming decades during the reign of Ramesses III of Egypt. We will underline again that a harsh climate undoubtedly worsened the condition of the falling Hittite Empire and all of these other entities. Revolts, like in Taruntasa in southern Anatolia, for example, further impairing the emperor and kinglet's ability to fight effectively. The Hittites, maybe as early as the 14th century BC, were possibly the first ones to use iron extensively. Their smiths fled and dispersed during the crumbling of the empire, which is why we see its usage, probably jealously kept within Hittite borders while the country held, spread in other lands now. The tempering of the steel in water technique was more than likely already known in these environs. 1187 BC. Even in Egypt, the news are not great. After several minor reigns that have weakened the country, the 19th dynasty ends after the death of Pharaohess Tausret, whose Canaanite mercenaries could not save her or her vizier Baia against a revolt. A high-ranking military officer, Setnakht, restores some order and starts the following 20th dynasty as Libyan tribes are menacing from the west. 2 years later, Shutruk-Nahunti I of Elam, king of Anshan and Susa, gets to power. He quickly launches one or several attacks against the region of Eshnuna in Mesopotamia. And now, 1184, one of the dates proposed for the most famous war of Troy. The city of western Anatolia is also called Ilion, and the legend of the great war between the Greeks of Achaia and Aeolia and King Priam of Troy could have originated from a historical Achaean, Dorian, or Sea People's raid against the prosperous city, or from a war between the last Mycenaeans, maybe mingled with Achaeans, and some remnants of the Hittites. Pick the option you like best. According to ancient Greeks, though, after the arriving of the massive galleys fleet, the siege, consequence of a woman theft, lasted for 10 years, from here on or up until this year. Well, it would have, at least according to ancient sources, ended after the infiltration of assailants in the city hidden in a giant wooden horse supposed to be some kind of offering to the gods. What's for sure, in the end, is that the city was burned. Enough legend. We're here for history. In 1179 BC, Pharaoh Ramesses III, second of his dynasty, after serving Setnakht as a general, defeats a Libyan invasion in the delta of the Nile, and also Nubians and Thekers. Who's that? Oh well, sea peoples, of course. These ones in particular will maybe hold a door on the Canaanite coastline somewhere during the next century. And guess what? The sea peoples aren't gonna give up so easily against Egypt, which called them Temehus, men of the north. 2 years later, in 1177, they are back in full force. This terrible period of history is decidedly packed with events. So some peoples of the sea descend upon Egypt by land through Canaan. But they are met by Pharaoh's army at Jahi, on the eastern border of the country. Egyptian war chariots and infantry encircle their better armored but less disciplined enemies and start throwing javelins, sling stones, and arrows at them before closing in close combat. Having traveled with their women and children, the sea peoples are trapped with them and crushed. But this was only part of their forces that was defeated here at Jahi. Now their great fleet attempts a far bigger attack on the delta, and Ramesses III rushes back westward to repulse their ships. This is the Battle of the Delta, the earliest naval battle known with some details. On this impressive reproduction of part of the Medine Habu temple relief, we can see the battle in question, with the sea ships of the peoples of the sea battling against the river ships of the Egyptians. Pharaoh is represented as a giant, pelting his enemies with huge arrows. All the ships represented are simple galleys, and those of the invaders are shown trapped between those of Ramesses. Egyptian soldiers board the pirate ships, on which we can see Sherdans with their horned helmets, and Philistines with some kind of armor, round shields, and straight swords. In the end, the Egyptians prevail, and we see on the bottom soldiers, some armed with curved kopeshes, taking prisoners to captivity. This is another resounding victory of Ramesses III on the sea peoples, and not his last. More on this on the next episode. We'll dive deeper into this new Iron Age and see what arises from the ashes of all these invasions and destructions we just witnessed. Thanks for your comments, likes, and subscriptions. I will see you all on the next one. Bye bye.